Welcome back, everyone, to part two. Hopefully, I'm really good at editing and I can put part two above my head. If not, disregard. So, like I said, we were going to go over some polls that I sent my peers to kind of pick through their brain. And my first question, I started very like I wasn't trying to corner anyone. These are very general questions. But basically, did you frequently consume media primarily targeted towards girls or women? This was also all sent to girls or women, people my age, ages 20 through 23, 19 through 23, we'll say. Yeah. So 71% said yes, and 28% said 50-50. I gave a yes, no kind of type of like deal. And so I then asked for an example of this media, and any Bravo reality show, hello, that's horrible. Because that's basically just the Real Housewives, which is all, for the most part, a man that saved a woman and made her rich, and now she's on reality TV acting a fool. Which I'm guilty of loving that kind of show. And to come right behind that, we're going to talk about Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. That is another example that I got. A lot of these examples are very like current, but I feel like even like as current, like we like these depictions and how we're influenced is still very like it's still relevant. Like hello. People are like influenced for like ever. Just little girls are young and impressionable, but I digress. So, I have Gossip Girl. Still not good. Sex in the City. Horrible. And then we have Mean Girls and Legally Blonde. Girl powery. Still conventionally attractive, white, blonde, skinny women. We're not really getting a lot of diversity in here. So, I then ask a follow-up. To your knowledge, would the media you consume pass the Bechdel test? 14% said 50-50. Shockingly, 57% said yes. But looking back on these options, I would disagree. That may just be me. I'm going to disagree on that. I don't think Secret Lives of Mormon Wives has ever passed the Bechdel test once in their life, unless they are fighting with each other. But most of those fights stem from men. Anywho. So, were the female characters portrayed as being highly focused on appearance or vanity? And nobody said no. 42% said yes, and 57% said kinda. Where at the end of the day, like they care. They care about what they look like. No one can like confidently say no. And so next I say, did the narrative center primarily around male characters or male perspectives? And it's another 50-50 almost type of deal. We have 42% saying yes. And then 28 and 26%. No. I'm blind. 28%. I'm bad at math. That's why I'm a communications major. Hello. So, as we're seeing, it's a lot of 50-50. Like, we're not getting like a hard, like, no, these women don't care about men. Like, 99% of the time, like, come on, be real. So, did the female characters have goals independent of romance or relationships? And 42% said no, and 57% said yes, which is still shocking. But, like, I'm kind of disagreeing with these statistics if we're looking at, like, if we're going back to the shows and, like, the things that they showed us. But whatever. And then, would you describe the main female character as a strong female character? 57% said yes, 28% said kinda, and 14% said no. I think that's really telling because that's almost a 50-50. And I think with as many options as they were giving me, and like for as many people that did do this, I should have more strong female characters. But when I try to sit back and think of it myself, I really can't think of any like strong female characters unless I'm like just thinking of real life, women, and it's usually like athletes or like some story, like a biopic or whatever. So I then asked, how were beauty and physical attractiveness portrayed in the media you consumed? So what made a female character considered pretty? And skinny, model-like, desired. They always had their hair and nails done, outfits put together professionally. They covered themselves with things that are aimed to make someone more attractive, such as Botox and lip filler and other cosmetic treatments and surgeries like that. And then confidence, stuff like that. We do have like some odd ones out. Like I will say, someone did note that they do books. And so books are a bit different because I have to use my imagination. And then, I like how each girl has their own style. Obviously, it is a show based on wealth, but they portray themselves in a way that doesn't focus on their money. There's a standard of beauty, especially in Los Angeles shows, but it's never the topic of conversation, which is refreshing. And I'm assuming we're going to say that's any Bravo reality TV show. So now I lastly asked, did the narrative suggest that being pretty or conventionally attractive was important to the character's success, happiness, or social status? Please explain. And yes and no. A lot of the women were super smart and well respected in their careers, which is inspiring to watch. A lot of their success and wealth was built by their hard work. The show works hard to show these women beyond the surface level, focusing on deep issues they have, not just on their looks and belongings. Obviously, being conventionally attractive helps in certain areas, but it is shown that it takes more than just looks. I like that. But you're still noting that they need to be attractive. Kind of. Yes, looks were very important, and the beauty standard was very high because the setting was 1990s New York City. So obviously we're talking about Sex on the City here. And yeah, they were all skinny. Kate Moss era, like everyone was at the height of their eating disorder, smoking cigarettes and like curbing their appetite with Coke. Like, let's get real. So I don't think Sex in the City, guilty, I'm obsessed with that show. I don't think it depicts a very great influence on little girls. So, or just anyone at times. Sometimes they say really dumb stuff, really dumb dietary stuff that is very eating disordery, and it's not good. So, I digress. So someone else says yes, relationship status. And someone else says, in the scenarios of reality TV, kinda. I feel like if they had their goals and worked as hard as they did, even if they weren't as pretty or attractive, they would achieve exactly what they were doing, even if they weren't covered in makeup and Botox, lip filler, boob jobs, etc. I do want to point out the fact that they listed, though, all of these things that people get to change their appearance. And I think, I grew up in this age of social media. I grew up looking at photos of Kylie Jenner sitting here and telling me that she doesn't have plastic surgery when her lips grew 5 sizes. Like the Grinch style heart, like his heart grew. That's how her lips were. And you're going to sit here and tell me that it's just like a pencil and some lip gloss? I know you're lying. But when you're a little girl and you're dumb and impressionable, and it's okay that you're dumb because you're little and you're like 12 years old and you're supposed to be dumb, but you're not supposed to be, looking in the mirror and crying over the fact that you aren't giving hourglass body yada yada and comparing yourself to someone with a BBL. That's stupid. And I just think that we are really losing the whole point, not of this podcast, but of just ourselves. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I never really acknowledged the fact or the reason why I'm wearing this. I thought it would be fun because what becomes with a pretty princess? Hello. Ding.